Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Spirit and Soul Podcast. I am your host, Tiffany Cohen, and today we are getting ready for the new year. Now, before you start setting all of your intentions, and please don't set resolutions, and we'll explain why in the next episode. But for for really getting prepared for a new year, you can't really step forward until you kind of look back and see how far you've come. Like, where did you go in this past year and how did you grow? Right? Like, what were the things that happened that made you change, that made you a better person, that made you grow, that made you understand life differently? I really think that it's important, really, really important before making a vision board and before doing any of these, intention setting exercises that I'm sure in your mind you're doing if you haven't, started doing them already for the upcoming year. I really find it extremely important to look at what has come, right? Where are you right now? Why are you exactly where you are right now? And also it shows your capacity of what you're ready to hold. So I'm going to explain what that means. So basically what's been happening with me in the past couple of weeks is it's like interesting, and I'm going to describe it as this. I'm going to actually describe it as this. I've been feeling nostalgic. I've been feeling really nostalgic just for this past year. So usually when we use the word nostalgic, we use it in a term of like, oh, you're nostalgic for, a past, like your past, like when you were a kid, or, different parts of your life that you're feeling nostalgic for and you're having these memories. But I've been feeling nostalgic for the girl that I was last year at this time, starting to set intentions for this upcoming year. And why? Well, I'm looking and I haven't even really, to be honest with you, like I haven't sat down and done the work yet. It's like on my heart, on my mind to do it. But I want to set the tone. I want to light my candles. I want to romance myself into it because I want to give this past year, I want to honor it. I want to give it its credit. I want to give it love and the attention that it needs. And for this year for me, and if you know Erica, okay, at Spirit and Soul, which I'm sure you do, she's been on the podcast many times. And she's going to be on very soon again. If you know Erica, Erica is very much into numerology. And Erica, talks a lot about our personal year and what our years are and things like that. And for this year, for me, my personal year was an 8 and it was an abundant year. And I feel like I didn't recognize it until recently, how abundant it actually was. I feel like, there was a feeling for me and just an honesty, a feeling of, I don't want to say lack because lack isn't the right word, but a feeling of like internal struggle over where I should be, what I think I should be doing versus where I actually was. And I had a lot of that this year, maybe more in like the beginning of the year and into the middle. And I wasn't really looking at the whole picture. And I started to see how much I wasn't looking at the whole picture very recently, like within the past like month or so. Because while I was feeling abundant in my mind, this like, 8 year of glorious abundance, I wasn't seeing it in these huge ass terms. I was seeing it in different ways and recognizing it in different ways. But when someone says to you, this is your most abundant year, I'm like, all right, like bring it on. And the fact is that I saw it, I didn't see it for the abundance that it was. And then I started to sit and I'm like, wait a second, like this happened and that happened. And I had an abundance, a massive abundance of opportunities, a massive abundance of healing that happened this year, a massive abundance of wealth, like a massive abundance of health. Like there were so many things that I just wasn't seeing because I think there was an expectation that I had around what does my abundant year mean. So I kind of really started to sit back and say, okay, I need to reflect on all of this because wow, what a year this was. And yes, there was a lot of tears, and because I was healing and I was growing. And yes, there was so many laughs. I mean, countless laughs. And there was growth amongst my team in the most amazing ways that I'm looking at all the incredible people on the spirit and soul team. And I can see how each of them grew individually, as well as how everybody really grew together as a team, how we support and hold our community in all the different ways that we do that. And I'm like, my heart is bursting in gratitude for all of the experiences and the things that we've had this past year. So I can't really sit back and set these intentions right now. Like that's how I feel in this moment. Like I can't sit back and be like, okay, what? All right, 2025. I feel like I'm rushing into it. And I'm going to be honest with you. This is the first year that I'm really feeling like, all right, I'm not like jumping into it. And I am. There's a part of me that like can't wait to do that. But it's almost like you need to like, those like cars that you have to like pull back and then like let them go and they go flying. I feel like I need to pull that car all the way back to December 2023. And what was Tiffany doing then? And I want you to do the same thing. And like, let's do this together. I want you to do this with me. Like, what was going on in December 2023? Or if you're not listening to this in this timing, right? You can do this at any time. So don't worry about that. But what was going on in that moment? What was going on at that time that you were setting the intentions you were setting? And look back. Like, I'm sure you have them written down. I'm sure you have the vision board somewhere. If you didn't hang it up, first of all, why? But if you don't have your vision board up, then, or like you do have it up, whatever, grab it out, look at it. Look at it. Like, what were the intentions? What were you setting that for this year coming up, and what were you writing down? Maybe you were at spirit and soul classes and you were writing down like what your goals were and what your things that you wanted to accomplish were for 2024. Like, I want you to look at them and say, okay, and I want you to look at them with fresh eyes, with non-judgmental eyes, because I am quite sure that you have some things on that intention list that you didn't bring to fruition. And I don't want you to look at it and say like, you didn't get that one done. You didn't get that one done. No, 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 no. I want you to look at what you wrote and I want you to see why. Why didn't it come to fruition? I'm going to be honest with you. I have so many things on my list that did not come to fruition. And I have so many things that did. And if I'm just the ones that I'm thinking of in my mind, the reason that I couldn't get them was that number one, if I got them, the overwhelm that would have come with it would not have been okay for me and my team. So we have to like recognize it's amazing to set grandiose goals. And also, if you didn't do the work to support those goals, like if you could want $10 million, right? Like, let's say I want $10 million. If you want $10 million and you're not making anywhere near that right now, it's going to be a lot for you to hold $10 million. If you didn't do the work around the worthiness around having $10 million, if you didn't do the work around like managing money around that, you don't have a financial advisor that can help you with having that type of money, suddenly having $10 million is going to feel like a huge ass burden. So it's going to feel great. It might feel like, yeah, freedom. And then all of a sudden it's going to sink in and you're going to be like, wait a second, this energy of $10 million is not what I'm used to. And you don't have it's because you don't have the energetic capacity to hold $10 million yet. So when we get it, and this is why people who win the lotto, they win the lotto and they burn through it all because they are not prepared for it. They don't understand the energy of $10 million. It is very different than $10, right? Like if you have $10, it's like nothing. Even if you had $100, even if you had $1,000, like it probably feels like closer to, okay, $1,000 would be cool. But like Is that really a lot compared to 10 million? Absolutely not. Right? So there is a difference. And if you got that money, you would not keep it. Let's just be realistic, right? Like you wouldn't be able to keep it. You would spend it. You would spend it on everything. You would be blowing it on stupid shit. Like, let's be realistic. All right. And now, like, let's use a different example. Let's say you wanted to see like massive numbers in your business, like, forget about even dollars, like, you wanted it to grow and be visible and be seen, right? And you wanted it to be this like huge thing with all this incredible exposure. Now, are you prepared? Is your team prepared? Do you even have a team? Is everybody prepared for that exposure? Like, with that exposure comes demand. And it also comes demand on your time. And that means sacrifice. And that means restructuring your life. Are you prepared for that? So I want you to look back at those goals and say, you know what? I actually didn't build the systems for them. So of course they couldn't come in. I didn't energetically prepare myself for what that could look like. And I didn't prepare my family for that, because that would mean that I would be, I would be gone from the house a lot, and who's a beautiful, beautiful example, and I know personally, but then also just watching on Instagram, is Cameron Rogers. Cameron Rogers is, my goodness, I am just watching her grow and flourish in the most beautiful, beautiful, amazing ways. And I know that while that she had a big following and all of these things, I know that this year for her was a massive expansion year. It was a massive boom year. And I look and I'm watching it unfold, and I'm seeing her do it with grace. I'm seeing her do it with a beauty that her family understands, and that her husband, it looks like, is amazingly supportive, and that she has the team behind her. And I think it's because she grew into it. And then, yes, big boom, but it feels like they were ready for it, and then she became ready for it. So even though it feels like a lot, there was an aspect where her energy was prepared for it. And, you know, she can only speak for that. And I think she's going to be on our podcast very soon. But I would say that there was a few things that she did, maybe spinal, maybe having conversations, and all the things that prepared her energy to hold what she's been experiencing lately. So look at that beautiful difference of being able to energetically hold something versus, let's say, somebody, because it could feel like it could feel like she hit the lotto this year. But if she wasn't prepared for it, the things would slip through her fingers. But she was energetically prepared to hold it. So she's maneuvering gracefully through all of the things, and flying to Seattle and then coming home. It's an overnight trip because she has 2 kids and she doesn't want to be away from them that long. And she has her boundaries, right? So I'm looking at her as a beautiful example of how it is to have boundaries, be able to hold this energy, and have all the things, all the dreams that you could possibly want, right? You're watching her have her dreams come true, and holding space for the ones that she's putting out there and saying, I want to be on the Today Show. Okay, let's hold that energy for her, right? That she'll be there. So like, it's amazing to me. And I want you now to look at those intentions that you wrote down from last year and say, was I really energetically prepared for this? Like, can I actually be upset that this thing didn't come to fruition? Or maybe it did, and it was way too much for you. Maybe it did, and you were not prepared for it at all. So maybe it slipped through your fingers, or maybe it felt like torture. Maybe it just wasn't what you expected it to be because energetically you were not prepared for it, right? But I want you to be honest with yourself as you're looking at these things, right? And be really mindful as you're setting the new ones for next year, right? So we're going to get to that again, another episode, but I want you to be mindful of them. And I don't want you to squash them, but maybe have goals that you set and say, okay, I'm going to have this. And then how do I get there? So look at those intentions, really, really look at them with a fine tooth comb, and don't judge yourself for them not coming to fruition, it may have been the best thing that happened to you. The universe always has your back. Remember that. The universe always has your back. So if something didn't come to fruition, there's many reasons why. Again, energetically, you may not have even done the healing work around it to actually be an energetic match for that thing. So if you were too afraid to really look in the mirror and see the things that were coming up around this, then you didn't do the work to energetically be the match for the thing. Like, that's on you. So also take ownership for the things that didn't happen because you didn't do the work for them. Like, maybe you wanted to go on a fitness journey, but like you never did anything about it. Maybe you wanted to go on a health journey, but still continued in the ways that you were eating and living your life. You didn't do the work around it. And don't beat yourself up. Just own it. Own it and say, okay, this year it's different. Or maybe that's not an intention this year. Maybe you do it differently. Maybe you do it slowly, right? Whatever those things are, just be honest with yourself about it. Okay. And now for the biggest thing is look at the ones that did come to fruition. Look at the beauty and celebrate the intentions that you wrote down in 2023 that you're like, oh, I forgot I wrote this down. I forgot I said I wanted to do this or be this or have this and go here, go there. And now you are looking back at them and you're like, oh, wow, I got these things. Like, I did it. And I want you to truly celebrate them. And I'm saying this because a lot of times when we actually have something come to fruition, we don't celebrate it the way that we should. And that's part of the manifesting journey as well, is the celebration. And I'm going to be honest with you, like, I forget to do this sometimes as well. I get excited for it. And then I kind of just like, I'm like, okay, awesome. And then keep moving forward. And we have to be able to sit in celebration of what did come through and what did happen. And that's the beauty. So sit back as you're looking through it and be like, wow, this happened. And I'm going to celebrate, like jump up and down, dance, laugh, put on some music, and just like give your past self so much gratitude for the work that she did have to do, or he had to do, in order to get those things. You might have had to do a lot of healing work around it. You may have had to do a lot of like work, like actual daily action around that thing. You may have really had to like let people out of your life, completely change how you showed up in the world in order to get those things. Or maybe you just had to believe, you had to trust, and that's huge. So give yourself that grace, space, and celebration for the things that came to fruition and who you had to become in order to get there. And also what the things that you had to leave behind, including parts of yourself that you needed to leave behind in order to get there. Celebrate that. That is something for massive celebration, massive, and have so much gratitude, so much gratitude for all of it, for the whole journey. Listen, maybe that journey was really difficult, or it felt difficult. Maybe it felt really, I like to use the word challenging. So maybe it felt really challenging to get there. Maybe you had to do so much inner work this year in order to get the things that you wanted. And you know what? I want to go back actually for a minute. And one more thing is that if you don't have something that you wrote down on your list, like, where are you in the journey? Like, maybe you're halfway there. Like, so rather than sit there and say, I don't have this yet, how far did you get? How far did you get in getting there, and celebrate that? Because sometimes it's not about having, it's always about the journey. It's not about the destination. And the destination is what we focus on the most. And we have to, on some level, we do have to focus on the destination, but we can't lose sight of the journey that we're on. So if you don't have the thing yet, celebrate where you are. Celebrate how far you've come. Because maybe you have been doing the work. Maybe you're like, Tiff, seriously, like I've been doing so much work. Bravo, amazing. I'm celebrating you. That's fantastic. Don't beat yourself up for not having the thing yet. And that's, I think, what I've been going through. So I really want to stress this right now because, like, I didn't get to the destination yet. But damn, this journey this year, it was unlike any other year. And for that, I feel like I am in abundance. I grew so much this year. I went through massive, massive healing work, like different retreats and different experiences and learning so many new things about myself. And for that, for the healing work, for the integration time, because, the magic happens on the retreats and in these places. The magic begins there. It starts there. It doesn't end there. When you get out of those places and now you have to integrate everything that came up and see how the energy frequency shifted within you, if you allow it to, that's where the magic lies. The magic lies in the integration and how you take everything that you experienced and learned and grew from that. So for me, and they were all back to back for me. Like seriously, it was like over a couple of months that I was, going to the speaking academy with Eric Edmeades, which ended up being a massive, massive growth for me in so many different ways, but also a massive healing journey as well. And then jumping right into Victoria Song's retreat, and then jumping right into spinal energetics too, which was huge for me. And then ending it with our own retreat for spirit and soul, which, yes, I'm holding space for other people, but when you give a healing, you get a healing. And I had all of that still buzzing within me when we were holding space for those people. So when we were done with that retreat, I needed like weeks. I really did. Like I needed weeks to try to come back to myself. And I feel like I'm still trying to integrate all of the things and understand them. And I feel like that's why now I'm sitting back and feeling nostalgic because I haven't looked at the journey yet. And now I'm just starting to do that. And I'm like, holy crap. Like I was talking to Dave, my business partner, on the way here today. And I said, I'm finally just sitting back and realizing how much growth that we had this year at Spirit and Soul, and how much growth we had, how much growth I had individually. And it's amazing. It's amazing when you do this work and sit back. So do the work, celebrate yourself, see the journey, see how far you've come, celebrate all of the wins, all of them, all of them. Even if you didn't get the thing yet, celebrate how far you've come. Now, again, we're going to go backwards and say, if you didn't do any of the work to get the thing, if you're like, I know I didn't do anything, I didn't do the healing work, I didn't do the physical work, I wrote it down on a piece of paper and I never did anything about it. Okay, own it, accept it, right? Like no beating up. That's it. End of story. Accept it. And if that's still an intention for you for this year, how are you going to make changes? And please let them be bite-sized pieces. Okay, bite-sized. So this is the biggest thing that you can do this year in order to energetically prepare yourself for setting your intentions. Set those intentions. We're going to talk about that in the next episode. But for this episode itself, I want you to really just focus on how far you've come, celebrate. And what I want you to do is I want you to DM, you can email Spirit and Soul, but I would love for you to DM Spirit and Soul and on Instagram at Spirit and Soul Studio. And I want you to tell us your journey. I want you to say in 2023 in December, I wrote this down. Maybe you were at one of the classes. Maybe you were at the last full moon circle. Maybe you were at the last new moon circle. Whatever it is, I want you to say, this is what I wrote down. And then I was thinking that I didn't hit that goal for this year. However, I started to sit back and I saw how much I grew. And this is how I grew. And this is what I did. And this is actually what I got. And I'm really excited for 2025 to hit that goal this year, right? I want you to tell us that, or tell us whatever your journey is, whatever the things, and let us celebrate with you and the things that you did that you did write down and they came to fruition. The things that you did manifest. We love a great manifesting story. Okay, so we want to hear all about it. In fact, I would love, you know what we're going to do? I'm just making this up right now, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell the girls I want to do a contest. So if you leave us a video of your favorite manifestation that we can share, okay? Your favorite manifestation of the year, maybe something that we helped you through, walked you through, whatever it might be. If you DM us a video, and again, it has to be able to share. We're going to put everybody, there's no winning in the fact of like, oh, we're going to, this is the best story or whatever. But we're going to figure out a beautiful way. Again, this is on the fly right now, but we're going to figure out a beautiful way to maybe put everybody in, and one person wins a spinal energetic session with me. Okay. Either in person or virtual. So you don't have to be living near the shop in order to get this. You will win a spinal energetic session. And, because I really just love, my favorite thing with Spirit and Soul is to hear not just how you've healed. I love those stories too. They really rival the manifestation stories, but I love to hear your manifesting stories, because I know that there had to have been an energetic shift in you in order to receive your manifestations. I know that. So I know that the healing is like implied in the manifestation. So that being said, we are going to run this. You're going to hear more about it on Instagram. We're going to announce it right after this episode. And I can't wait. This is going to light up my life. I'm telling you right now, this is going to light me up to see all of these videos. So leave us a video. I can't wait to hear it. Now I'm so excited, and make sure you do all of this work that we just talked about today. And in the next episode, we are going to talk about intention setting versus making resolutions, and how to really set these beautiful intentions for the next upcoming year. Okay. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Spirit and Soul podcast, and I will see you next time.